Hey team, what's happening? We're back again. Daryl and Ryan here, Second Chance Athletes, part two of sacrifice and what sacrifice looks like
Hmm.
in a time sense.
Yeah.
What are the things we've given up throughout not just our childhood, but into college, into the maybe the professional sport you played. And
Hmm.
I'm going to add a little piece as a dad and a husband after the sport. What exactly what time I was sacrificing, still trying to keep that high, still trying to keep that fix, not really knowing how to transition out of sport with my family.
Hmm.
So first, I'll start off the youth sports kind of complex and syndrome we're in with these travel sports, the consumption of identity. I think, Daryl, there's so much with these kids right now that um, we don't have a choice but to tie our identity
Hmm.
to the sport. That's all we know. That's our group of friends. That's the value that our parents assign to us because that's all we do. We're
Right.
doing it every weekend. We're traveling all across the country. I mean, we're talking 6-year-old World
Hmm.
Series for T-ball.
Yeah.
I mean, T-ball World Series. Just that sort of insanity is just kind of mind blowing to me, and just kind of kicking around our thoughts of how that establishes our identity.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And I remember playing travel sports and the extent that I went to make it happen, because I think one of the reasons why we spend so much time in sports is because it's like our only avenue to success, and it's the
Right.
only thing that I have in my experience to get out of the hood, to build
Sure.
sustainable income for a family,
Right.
to break generational poverty.
Yeah.
It's like it's got to be sports or rapping, like
Right.
that. From where
Right.
I'm
Right.
from, that's what it is. And
Yeah.
so you'll do whatever it takes when sports becomes like a god to you,
Sure.
and it's crazy.
Yeah, and it's interesting to think back too. I know my dad and I, in these conversations we've had over the past couple of years, as this transition's evolved for me. I mean, he literally describes sport as our religion. Right? We
Hmm.
stopped a church going experience, and we picked up a sport, and it consumed us. It consumed us on weekends, and it consumed us weeknights. And I just look back and just as a kid, and how I just assigned such value to these sports and this identity transition piece after the fact that we didn't take vacations, we didn't
Hmm.
spend time as a family as much as we could have because we were at a ball field. And no fault to any parent for trying and experiencing this, but we're just trying to bring some awareness to the fact of maybe it's not the healthiest thing to do. Maybe it's
Right.
not the right path. Maybe a
Right.
lot of this exposure and this identity that we're associating a sport to our kids are part of the challenge afterwards. I don't
Yeah.
know.
And it's like it's hard because it's different per individual,
Sure.
and some families are better at it than others.
Right.
And so I'm not trying to do the should you play, should you not play, should you play on Sundays, should you not play on Sundays, like that type of thing. I don't want to get religious about it.
Sure.
But I think we should just look at what we're sacrificing for this game.
And I love the word, again, sacrifice that we're using here. And I have
Hmm.
these conversations with parents, Daryl. They've got 3 or 4 kids,
Hmm.
and one joins a travel team.
Hmm.
That affects the entire
The entire
family.
family gets
And I
affected.
keep telling
Yeah.
these parents and these families, I'm like, guys, listen, that's wonderful. You're trying to provide this opportunity,
Hmm.
but what opportunity are you neglecting from the other 3 or 4 in the family, right?
Exactly.
And then the expense piece. I always get the question asked, how much should I be paying for these teams? Should I do this?
Yeah.
I had one just a few weeks ago. It could be life changing. They
Hmm.
literally would have to sacrifice
So
parts and
much.
pieces of their family together for the fact they have to pay for this now multi-billion-dollar
Yeah.
industry
Yeah.
of
It's
youth
crazy.
sports, right?
It's so crazy. I was fortunate enough to have parents who, even though they didn't have the most money, they always made sure that they made as many games as possible. Like I still to this day don't know how they did it,
Right.
especially my mom and grandma. Like my dad was a little bit better financially, but my mom and grandma and some of my aunts and uncles even and my sisters would always come to like a ton of my travel sports game.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't even know how y'all afforded it.
Right.
Because I was paid for as an athlete,
Sure.
but they had to pay travel, hotel, like
Sure. Oh,
food,
it's
and,
big,
and and
man.
take off time of work.
Right.
And it's just I was fortunate enough to have my family there so that it wasn't like I was sacrificing family on the altar of sports.
Got it.
And, sadly, that's not the story for other people. And some of them, they can't figure out that financial landscape.
Yeah.
So I think as a family unit, we have to, number one, plan for it, prepare for how much time we're getting ready to sacrifice to pursue, AAU sports, travel sports, whatever. And then if we can prepare for it, then we can make sure that we're still valuing and spending time with the people that matter the most. So if I know that I'm getting ready to be gone for 2 weeks because I'm going to be in this tournament, and then there's a follow-up tournament, I'm only going to be home one day in between, like I got to make sure that one day is quality time with the family.
You know what's hard?
What?
It's hard for a 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16-year-old man. And looking back, I think that's just wisdom speaking. You're just looking back, which I love. I love that fact. And that's the message we're trying to share, especially as we have former athletes that are working on the transition themselves, but potentially have young athletes that they're raising, right?
Think of it because this is wisdom in retrospect, but at the same time, if we're athletes, so we're smart, and just think of it as a game plan, we got to execute it.
Right.
Like, that's all a game plan is. And that's all, high elite performance is. It's studying your opponent, and it's knowing when to strike, and it's knowing when to receive. You see what I'm saying? And that's all we're doing. So like, even if you're, 12 years old and you're watching this and you know that you're spending way too much time trying to pursue this dream of playing in professional sports, like shoot a text message on your downtime in between your games.
Amen. Right.
Like one of my
send a pic.
Send a picture.
Selfies are so big, and just hey mom, I'm thinking about you. Hey dad, got you on my mind.
Boom. And now we can FaceTime and video chat and all that stuff. And it's just a way to make sure that this is something that is not becoming a sacrifice of what matters.
Right. Or even the parents, from the parents' perspective. Yeah. You're at this ballpark with these kids. Your other kids may not be there. You do those. Yeah. You do those same things. You follow those same disciplines, and you shoot messages to your kids. Let them know you're thinking about them. Let them know that when you get home, you're going to spend some great time with them, and allocate that. Commit to it. Believe in it, and follow through. Right. Yeah. So that's awesome. So we wanted to hit on the first part, this youth aspect, which is just getting wildly chaotic and crazy from a financial aspect and this time aspect, and then I wanted to hit kind of on. Our days, and as we pursue our careers into college and even professional sports, what that sacrifice of time looks like. And, there's a lot of it. And, truth be known, you miss a lot of different things. I didn't get summer breaks. I didn't get spring breaks. I didn't take the trips that a regular college student gets. Now, granted, I had the benefit and the privilege of playing a college sport. Yeah. And my college was paid for pretty much. And, again, that's something that other kids didn't have, but there is a big sacrificial piece of time that as I reflect back on, not that there's no regret there, right? Like I'm not looking for regret, but I'm looking at this piece of what's the right balance? Yeah. And I can't say I have the right answer, but I just wanted to bring that up of what does that look like?
I think every individual has to define what that looks like for them. Yeah. Because every family dynamic is different. The trust in the relationship is different. Sure. The involvement of the people that you care about is different. For some people, they don't have that family piece. Right. And the athletes become brothers and sisters. Sure. And so, for them, all their time being spent on sports is spending time with family, and there's not two different buckets. Yeah. So it's what we're trying to do is just get you to think about it and know what you're sacrificing on the front end, so that when you transition out, you don't have that regret.
That's right. And I have one. And it's the reason we're recording today. I was sharing with Daryl that one of my biggest regrets is when I was playing professionally for the Florida Marlins, that my mom was diagnosed with cancer. And, as parents would do, I'm fine. Your dad and I are okay. Mom puts up this, wall of strength. And regretfully, I didn't spend enough time with her while she was going through the process. I stayed in the system. I stayed playing the sport, and I regret it because I wasn't there for that family member who's going through a really hard time, right? And that's that sacrifice piece that I was willing to sacrifice, worrying about losing my job on the baseball field. Because if I left in the professional world, as you know, brother, I mean, you leave, you come back, you may not have a job.
True.
But it was so important to me. My identity was so tied to that sport, brother, that I missed that time and opportunity with my mom. So, Mom, if you're out there, this is a heartfelt. I'm sorry. I didn't know at the time. 22, 23. I can't remember how old I was, but I didn't know. And anyways, I wanted to share that piece real quick.
Yeah, man.
So,
yeah.
Anything else you want to add on that?
I mean, I think I can relate, man. Like, there's a lot of moments that I missed out on because I was so driven to sports, and really, I just had the big head, And so even when I was like, because when you are successful in sports, you get attention, you get interviews, you go to restaurants, people are like, oh, talking to you about your games. Sure. and telling you about your moments. You start to feel, asking for autographs. And so you start to get this, it inflates the ego.
Right.
And so even though I'm sitting with my family at lunch, or even though I'm back home for the weekend to visit my family, I have this mentality that I'm up here.
Wow, that's wild.
And they're down here.
Wow.
And so I carried that a lot into, family dynamics, because the conversation was all about me.
All about you, bro.
And I don't know how many times I turned around and said, hey, how's life back home? What's going on? What's your work life like? What's new? It was just all about how you doing in sports, how you doing in school. I saw you on TV. I saw y'all beat this team. And that's all. I dominated the conversation, and I sacrificed, that time and those memories with them because it was all about me. And so I think we have to, as athletes, when we're in it, because we know that we won't be in it forever, that we got to make sure that even though, we're experiencing success and we should celebrate and throw a party about it, that we don't get the big head and then don't value and speak to people and care about their lives as well.
Yeah. Respect their time.
Oh, yeah.
Respect your time with them.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, that's truly great reflection right there, bro.
Yeah.
And then the last piece I guess we wanted to hit on today was the transitional piece. So now you're out of the sport.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us, fortunate to start families, and man, you can't shake it, right? You can't find the high that you found before. You can't. And so what do? You go back to these sports, right? And so I hear people all the time, if let's say even they played one sport, now they're looking to another sport, trying to find that fill. I did the travel coaching experience with kids, and I did the lesson thing, and I just trying to get that fixed, man. And I tried to keep doing it. But what happened was I had my first child, and I'll never forget this. And at the time it hurt. Right. My wife said, you'd rather be with other people's kids than your own. Right. That's pretty big. And I was angry at the moment, man. But the more I look back, and the more it's because of this transition. It's because I couldn't shake it loose. I couldn't get what I got out of that sport. Yeah. And so I kept telling her, no, you don't understand. It's just, I love the game. I love the game.
Yeah.
I love the game. Yeah. I love the game. And as I started repeating those things and listening back to them, brother, I just got to the point where I was like, you know what? She's right. It's not that I truly am setting myself up to want it more than my family, but it's playing that role.
Yeah, because I get it. I did the same thing, but I think for me, I discovered that it was because I was trying to rebuild the level of success that I was in sports. Because it's like in sports, it was like, woo, my success is here. I'm elite. I'm getting full ride scholarships. I'm getting attention. I got NFL potential. Yep. And then boom, done, hurt, injured. Now I'm like,
ground zero.
I suck at this. Like I don't know. I went into marketing, so it's like now I'm here as a marketer, and everybody else is here. So I'm like, I'm sacrificing my time trying to get here, and I'm driven. Because in my mind, once I get here, I love it. I feel like the man again. Right? I feel the thrill again.
Oh, I love it.
But what happens is this distance between here and here, right, is time. And it's memories and it's moments. And I'm delaying my joy, my satisfaction, my happiness, my fulfillment till I reach this benchmark. And here's the illusion that when I get there, all I'm going to want to do is this.
That's it.
So I have to learn to enjoy the journey.
I love it, man.
Gotta learn to enjoy the journey.
And that takes it to the next level. If it's not just a sport or coaching, it literally could be your profession.
It's anything,
right? That you're trying to reestablish that fulfillment that you got.
Oh yeah,
that recognition piece. And Yeah, I mean, I was the same way with my job. I mean, I was literally opening Chick-fil-A's every morning at 6 a.m. in the morning, like first dude in to Chick-fil-A every Saturday morning to do work, because it was before my family got up.
Yeah.
And just as I look back on that sort of insanity of trying, some will say, yeah, you did a great job, Ryan. Like, yeah, you just, you crushed it. And, I can't speak for what the right balance is in everybody's situation, but I look back and I'm like, dude, I was exhausted. I was tired. It would affect my emotion towards my family the rest of the day. And I was doing it for what? To try and get back on top, to try and make more money.
Just so that the moment that you get there, the bar raises again. And now it's the next thing you're trying to chase. So like, take this deep breath and enjoy the journey and spend your time focusing on the people that are in front of you.
What means the most?
Don't delay your fulfillment till you reach some peak or some accolade. Be happy now, enjoy now, and all those other things are just byproducts and secondary.
That's it.
So
anyways, we always kick it back to you guys. We'd love to hear your stories of sacrifice, whether that's youth sports experiences as either kids or now as parents, or whether it's something that happened to you while you were playing sport, or even better yet, after sport, right? What that transitional experience looks like, and maybe the things that, as we have this conversation, which we're hoping opens your minds, gets you to kind of rethink, repurpose what you've been doing in your lives. Maybe there's some things that you reflect on and you want to share. So
love to hear from you. I appreciate all the feedback and input that we've gotten from sacrificing your body. Heard a lot of cool stories in that regard, but now we want to know, like, how has sacrificing your time for the sport, for the thrill, for the grind, for the work, for you name it, impacted your life. And let's help one another spend our time on what matters the most. Okay. So till next time, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Go to our website, engage. You can request to join the private Facebook community filled with current, former, and what I like to say, forgotten athletes. And let's just connect and let's do this. All right. Love you. Peace.